Welcome to the newly named Dork Alert. Thank you, Farah Akula. The talk about Justice League comics and the future of comic book movies coming to life. This is my cohort, David Hawk Actor. David, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've been really excited about this topic that we're going to discuss and have really been kind of on the edge of my seat, like, when are we going to record this?
Oh, that's exciting. I've been just as excited as you. With us today is a good friend, and like last week we were joined by Derek Zane, who has a vast knowledge of comics as well. We brought in another guy, and you can tell by his name, Lex Umaga. He also goes by Evan Briggs, but those of us who know him, we just call him Laz. From Florida, Lex Umaga. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, it's great to be here. I'm loving it.
Like that's awesome. We're glad to have you because we love having somebody on here that actually knows comics. Because my comic knowledge is somewhat limited. I'm not. I definitely don't have the knowledge like you two guys do. But Lex, sometimes your comic prowess really impresses me. So let's jump right into it. Last week we spoke about the possible leaks,
hmm
and we basically went over. The source of these leaks was DHA kind of pointed out. Evidently it was some guy who was let go from the movie, who worked in the art department, just came out and basically broke all the leaks down. Really quick, DHA. I spoke with Lex yesterday. We did kind of a pre call. He wasn't really aware of all the leaks. Would you like to go down the line with him real quick and see what he thinks?
Well, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I mean, obviously some of these were very obvious, like Lex Luthor being a villain in the movie, Metallo being a choice for one of the villains. Very obvious. It's like that's great. Lex Luthor buying the Daily Planet. I
Right.
think that's a no-brainer. But the ones that really stood out to me was Batman working with the government to create a UN type task force out of the Justice League. I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. Lex, what do you kind of think about that?
Well, actually, that's very interesting because I know you guys, both of you guys know I'm a big fan of Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor buying the Daily Planet. That's something that did happen in the comic books back, I believe, in the '90s or in the '80s incarnation. But for a movie, I don't think we're ready to see Luthor by the Daily Planet. I mean, as much as I would like to see that and him flaunt it, it's just not realistic at this time. He needs to establish his rivalry with Superman. He needs to show Lex, hey, these are my friends at the Daily Planet, Lois Lane, So I don't know where they're planning on going with this, but and the situation with Batman establishing the Justice League through a government type agency and working with the government, once again, this is something that Sam and myself talked about yesterday. Is what Christopher Nolan is trying to do is he's trying to make these movies realistic as possible, and I'm sure we'll elaborate more on that. But I mean, it makes sense to do it in a realistic approach, but you're going to have the comic book guy. They're going to be watching this movie, and they're going to be butchering it to pieces.
Well, and here's something we did go over last week, which is regardless of how you do the movie, you're always going to have comic book, half the comic book people really upset with how you portray it. And it doesn't just go with comics. It goes with novels in general. Let's just say it. I think it's no secret that I'm a Twilight guy, and I have a lot of girlfriends that are Twilight fans. And when they cast Robert Pattinson, the Twilight fans went absolutely nuts over it. Comic book fans are just a little more crazy because they're never 100% happy with how their favorite comic book characters are portrayed on screen. Me personally, I like the way Christopher Nolan brought this Batman universe to the big screen. It's easily my favorite, and I like how Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder brought Superman to the big screen. They make him very realistic. They bring him into modern times. And I guess that's what I really dig about it. But yet keeping like with Batman, they keep him dark. They keep him sinister. They kept him as the vigilante. He wasn't like a friend to the people of Gotham. He was kind of somewhat still a myth. As far as getting into the Man of Steel and these possible spoilers, I can see where you're coming from though about Lex Luthor maybe it being too early to buy the Daily Planet. But at the same time, what do you actually what would you like to see from Lex Luthor as a fan of Lex Luthor?
Well, I'd like to see Lex Luthor as the de facto savior of the city, because I'm sure David will agree with me, since he's a Superman fan like myself. Lex Luthor is responsible for the rebuilding of Metropolis. Now, you have plenty of opportunity after the first Man of Steel movie, with all the chaos and the carnage that was caused by the Kryptonians in their little private little war. Here's a great time to have Lex Luthor rise to the top, invest his money, since he's the CEO of LexCorp. If anybody saw the little Easter eggs in the movie, you do see the LexCorp little building markers and vans throughout the city. So we know that he's an established CEO and pretty much, is running a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Right.
I'd like to see Luthor establish Metropolis, put it back on the map, and then when everybody starts discovering, hey, Superman, Superman is here, this guy is great, and put Lex Luthor behind the back burner, because now they got Superman and they totally forgot what Lex did, and causing that whole rivalry between Lex and Superman, how it's supposed to happen.
DHA, what are your thoughts of that?
Lex is absolutely right. When it comes down to it, Luthor believes he is the savior of Metropolis. He believes that when the people look up to somebody, it should be him. And I think I spoke about this last week, he's a guy who has a high level intellect. It's been said quite a few times in the comics. If it weren't for Superman, if his brain power wasn't being focused on trying to stop this alien presence in his city, he could cure cancer within just a few minutes. I mean, he really has that kind of brain power. So for him, not being the man everybody looks up to, not being the man of tomorrow that they should all aspire to be, and them instead aspiring to this person, this being who shouldn't even be in his city or on his planet.
Yeah, an alien, for that matter.
Right. It's so demeaning to him. It's like a slap in the face. All these people, these ingrates of Metropolis, just turning on him. So that's his motivation, and it really should be the focus of the movie. In fact, if they do bring in Metallo really shouldn't be much of a character as much as just something that Lex creates to punch the lights out of Superman.
Well, and one thing that I really do, I want to add, one thing I really do like about the Man of Steel movie is that, unlike other attempts at Superman on the big screen, and even on the television shows, it focuses more on Kal-El than it does Superman. It focuses more on this alien from another planet that's possibly here to pose a threat to us. And that's one thing I really enjoyed about this take of Superman. But yeah. Lex, you brought up something earlier. You brought up Aquaman, for a second. One of the other spoilers is that even though he's not going to go by the name Aquaman, he is going to have a part in the movie, and he's going to be aggravated because what the World Machine did to the ocean, and he's going to hold Superman responsible for that. What do you think of that?
I'm not surprised, because in the most recent Justice League 52, going back a couple months ago, last year, a lot of the stuff that was going on was with Atlantis. So it doesn't surprise me not one bit that they're going to have, Aquaman play a role in being kind of like a pseudo bad guy, but not really, coming in like, hey, you guys have just caused a lot of damage to my world. Now, you guys are going to pay, and I'm going to declare war on you guys. And so I could definitely see it possible. They just did it in the comic books. Atlantis played actually a very big role in the new 52 Justice League comics. So I could definitely see something like that happening.
DHA, again, your thoughts?
Yeah, with Aquaman, when you think about it, it's all a matter of perspective and motivations. Aquaman is absolutely 100% in the right, according to him. His area of expertise is 70% of the Earth. Human beings only control 30%. So to have somebody from this outside world, again, it's about being the outsider, seeing it only from your window, seeing this person from the outside, affecting his world, his city, the people that he cares about and protects daily. You know, it totally makes sense to use him that way.
Okay. One of the other rumored spoilers, is that Wonder Woman poses as a Wayne Enterprises investor in order to retrieve an item that belongs to her people. Lex, where do you see that going if that is a true spoiler?
That's actually that's a pretty good spoiler. I didn't even hear about that one.
Right.
I mean, they got to figure out a way how to work her character in. Either she's a government agent, like she was in the on the TV show, or even in the comics, Agent Diana Prince, or they go that way. I mean, that does make sense, I guess. If they're trying to go with this realistic thing and trying to get her connected to to some of the heroes. I'm gonna have to say we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens on that. I'm still trying to get over the fact that that supposedly that she was supposedly originated from Krypton and migrated over to an Amazon island and lived there for 1,000 years.
We're gonna get to that in a second, but cool. I'm glad you're on that because we're gonna get to that. There are two more spoilers out of all of them. We pretty much touched on most of them. The first one of the last two that I want to get with you on is Metallo kills Clark, and they say kills in parentheses. So I'm guessing for whatever reason Metallo kills Clark Kent, and I don't even know how to think about that. What do you think?
Well, if he kills Clark Kent, it's got to be with kryptonite radiation, because I don't know if you personally know anything about the character, but his main function, is his green kryptonite heart. So,
well, let me jump in real quick, Lex. I think the way they're wording this is very clever. They're not saying he kills Superman. He kills Clark. So I think what happens is maybe Clark is investigating like a bomb situation or whatever. Something goes off, and now he has to pretend like Clark Kent is dead. Because, right. Oh no, we can't let Clark Kent, everybody know. So I think it's very clever wording the way they did it. But it's I agree with Lex. It's really going to be all how they play it out.
Lex, what do you think of that?
I think it's a good strategy. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, but eventually Clark has to come back. So how are you going to justify Clark coming back from the dead?
Okay, then let me take it to the final.
Is he always going to be Superman? That's what we have to ask.
Let me take this to the final spoiler, and maybe this could bring some light to that. At the end of the movie, Man of Steel 2, Superman is living in exile, and the Justice League is a government-approved superhero team. Do you see any correlation with the previous rumor?
Wow.
Yeah.
you kind of got me on that one. Wow. I mean, how is the Justice League going to be able to be a government-sponsored organization, but yet you got Superman living in exile? What's he going to do? Go to the Fortress of Solitude and run the Justice League from the fortress, or is the Justice League going to keep tabs on him? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How's that going to work?
Yeah, that's you know what? The only thing Derek. Oh, go ahead, David.
I was going to say the way it's worded, it sounds almost as if Superman is not part of the organization.
Right.
But like I said earlier, I don't think Batman would be either. Batman is a complete loner. There's no reason for him to do that. Now, last week I mentioned, and Lex probably already knows, the Justice League International back in the late '80s, early '90s was a government-funded and supported Justice League. It had the Martian Manhunter, it had Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. That could work, but Batman really was never on the government side. He would help out, but he was not an official member.
Now, let me also chime in what Derek Zane kind of paraphrase what Derek Zane was saying. Derek Zane sees that last rumor as maybe leading to that Lex Luthor somehow manipulates everybody into believing that Superman truly is the evil one. And therefore he's, people have turned against Superman possibly. Could that work?
That could be a possibility. That's definitely a Lex Luthor type strategy, in order to get back at the Man of Steel. I could definitely see Luthor doing something like that. I mean, he's done it countless of times in the comic books. I mean, when he was running for president, and I know David will remember that.
I was about to just mention that, Lex, because I think we just figured out why they're pushing it back to 2016.
You think because
Lex Luthor for president?
Are you
2016?
Are you thinking that? Are you going by Public Enemies?
No, well, Public Enemies was based upon the comics in the actual comic book series at that time, and I think it was, oh god, it wasn't 98, so it must have been what?
2000.
2000, the 2000 election.
2000 election, right?
Yeah, Lex Luthor won the 2000 election, so absolutely that would make a lot of sense. And then maybe this quote Justice League is actually a Lex Luthor sponsored team.
Oh,
as President Luthor.
But at the same time, though, you still want to have that established rivalry with Superman and Lex before something like that even occurs. You know, this is the second movie we're talking about. So, you know, I mean, depending how many years the movie, you know, in between Man of Steel to this new Batman Superman one, it plays a key factor, because you can't just have Lex run for president and be like, okay, I'm going to go after Superman. Okay, what's the motivation? You know, he needs that motivation.
Yeah, one thing they could do, and this is something that a lot of movies and television shows do, especially when they have like weekly missions or whatever. Think back to the latest Bond movies. He's always, when the movie starts, he's always at the end of one mission, leading into another. So there's no reason why Man of Steel 2 couldn't do the exact same thing. Superman is stopping one of Lex's latest machinations, right? He stops it and is like, Luthor, I'm tired of, you know, and he just names off a couple villains, you know, maybe Metallo, probably not, maybe Parasite would be a good one to name off, and then that leads into the next one, which is Metallo, and then at the end, you know, it could lead into an election year. I think that would be really cool to watch.
Or secretly using his DNA and creating Bizarro. Let's not forget Bizarro also.
Right. Well, here's the beauty about it is, you know, the whole goal was to see, do these supposed spoilers, do they kind of correlate with the comics? And I think we can make them work if they chose to go with those. Let's leave it at that for now, because one of the things I want to get to, we wanted to kind of get to last week, but we didn't, is something kind of controversial about Man of Steel. Now, Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan both. They've been known to take chances, especially with their casting. And Zack Snyder especially. I don't think any of us had a problem casting Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, but you know,
I'm sure somebody did.
Yeah, probably, you know, Republicans down south did. You know, here you got a guy that's traditionally, you know, a white character. He's now black in these movies, which, like I said, I'm fine with that. But again, that was kind of taking a chance. Also, and from what I understand, they've sort of explained it now. They've gotten rid of Jimmy Olsen for Jenny Olsen. And, you know, now I guess DHA, you were telling me that it's possible that they are going to come out and say that Jenny's actually Jimmy's sister.
Yeah, one of the official statements, I believe, was like, no, Jenny is not the same character as Jimmy. It's actually his sister.
Right.
I think that was a smart move. That way they have the possibility of using Jimmy later if they ever want to, or whatever.
But now let's stick with this, okay? Word had it. Let's start going with some of these casting. We'll save the best for last. To the two guys, because even though there isn't a signed Lex Luthor yet, and Lex, you're going to be the first one to go for this, their shortlist evidently is down to Joaquin Phoenix and Bryan Cranston. To me, that's a no-brainer. What is your take on that?
I don't know. I know very little about both men, actually. I'm assuming the guy, Bryan Cranston, that's the guy from that TV show Breaking Bad, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, I had heard rumors about him possibly taking up the mantle of Lex Luthor. I mean, hey, if they paid me a lot of money and put me in acting school, I'd love to be Lex Luthor myself. I'd throw my name in the hat.
Not happening.
Who are you kidding, Lex?
Yeah.
You would do it for a nickel and a handshake.
That's right. That's right.
Is this really where this conversation's going? Anyway,
No, if I had to take my pick, I would probably go with Brian.
I
sure.
agree. DHA, your choice. If that's your short list, who do you go with?
Well, I think out of the two, I'd see more Metallo for Joaquin Phoenix. I just don't see him as a Lex Luthor because, and I think Joey, you and I have had this conversation before. You can't pretend to be smart. You have to legitimately be smart to give that some depth, and Bryan Cranston would totally pull that off. Whereas I don't buy it from Joaquin Phoenix, but I think Metallo might be a good fit for him if he's been cast.
My take is this: I've seen several movies with Bryan Cranston. I've seen several movies and television shows with Joaquin Phoenix. Never once have I seen anything with Joaquin Phoenix that leads me to believe he's the perfect guy for Lex Luthor. Yet Bryan Cranston, on the other hand, and I'm not talking just Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, he had sort of the look, the bald head and such. But I look at Bryan Cranston and I say to myself, this guy could be Lex Luthor. I totally see that. But at the same time, I'm also, and one of the conversations we've had before, and we'll get into this one day, is about how a lot of good actors playing comic book characters take the brunt of criticism for bad scripts. I'm a firm believer that Kevin Spacey was a phenomenal Lex Luthor. That's the way I saw Lex Luthor. Much better than Gene Hackman.
He actually was one of my favorite Lexes, yes.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going to go with Kevin Spacey. I'm going to go with Bryan Cranston. Another, I don't know if you guys know who this guy is. He's kind of a bit actor. I forget what TV show he's on. He's on a CBS TV show now. I think it's Intelligence. His name is Josh Holloway. Rumor has it this is going to be the Aquaman. Do you guys know who Josh Holloway is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I was watching something. Wasn't he on Lost?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. I've seen some pictures of the guy. If he's Aquaman, I could see that.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a kind of a chiseled look. He could probably pull that off pretty well.
Right. I think I'd be okay with Josh Holloway as Aquaman. That would work fine. Okay, let's get into the big two. Let's start off with the Batman. Ben Affleck is evidently the Batman.
You say that like it's still up in the air. Like, is he Batman? Is he not Batman? No, he's cast as Batman.
I just can't see him as Batman.
Well, let's let DHA take this one first.
Yeah, go ahead,
respond.
DHA.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I'm very pro Batman. Ben Affleck. I've made no thing about that. As soon as I saw the report, I thought it was maybe a joke, but as soon as I saw that it was legitimate, I was like, yes, I'm totally down for that. Because I know that they wanted an older actor to play Batman in this movie, and at 41, Ben Affleck is going to do good, or maybe 42 by the time they wrap. But he's 6'3". That's the right height I want. He's 200 and I think 15 pounds. So if he added just a little bit, and we're talking very little, he'd be the right size for exactly what Batman is in the comic books. He's got obviously he's got a superhero chin. I think everybody can agree with that. He's got that long jawline. But as far as his acting ability, he's a great actor. Not only that, Joey, you said this last week that you think the studios were kind of making a safe decision with him. I agree, but I think they're also giving him a multi-deal where not only is Man of Steel 2 getting a Batman, Warner Brothers is getting a writer/director for some other stuff.
Okay, and then Lex, you go ahead and take this one before I hammer DHA.
Okay. I still can't get over the fact that it's Ben Affleck. Okay, I'm used to seeing Ben Affleck in Chasing Amy, Daredevil, Dogma, all these weird movies. Batman,
all these movies that were a decade ago.
Right, Batman. Those are some pretty big boots to fill in. Okay, Batman is just not some role that you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to go play Batman now, and I'm going to be the new Batman." I mean, you have to take into account you have Bruce Wayne and you have Batman. Okay, and only one man was able to pull off the two different personalities, and that was Michael Keaton in the 1989 Batman movie. So if Ben Affleck can pull this off, and be, Bruce Wayne by day and doing his little stuff, and then be Batman by night. I'm telling you, he's got a lot of boots to fill.
Lex, let me
Sure.
put the roadblock up there because you're goddamn killing me. Here's okay. Let me ask this. DHA, were you how on a scale of 1 to 10? Where did you put Christian Bale?
Oh, I really liked Christian Bale. To kind of disagree with Lex, I don't think it was Michael Keaton that nailed that role.
Well,
I liked him
we'll
as
get into
Batman.
that. Trust me, we'll get into that. But
Okay.
let me just ask you first. Christian Bale on a scale from let's short it 1 to 5.
1 to
5 being
5.
the best.
We're just gonna
Christian Bale.
easily a 4.5.
Okay, Lex, what did you think of Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne?
I'd give him probably a 3.
Okay, with that, would you guys say that Ben Affleck is an upgrade, or is he downgrading Bruce Wayne? Because I gave freaking Christian Bale, I gave him a 5. I thought that is the perfect Bruce Wayne right there. He had the size, he had the look, he was, and Lex, you brought up something very, very true. A lot of people don't think about this. If you're going to tackle Bruce Wayne in the Batman, you're literally playing two different characters. Bruce Wayne is completely different than the Batman. And Christian Bale actually managed to pull off both. And that was tough.
Well, that's almost every superhero. Even Superman is two different characters, which may be another reason why they want to quote unquote kill Clark.
I don't know if I agree with that, especially when you want to talk about Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve's the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. It was just basically a pair of lens crafters. That was it.
Oh, I very much disagree. Just the way he carried himself, he sloped his shoulders forward. He hunched over a little bit. He was klutzy, whereas Superman, he stood up completely straight, had a stronger sound in his voice, very charismatic. He was definitely two different people.
I saw both characters being the aw shucks kind of guy. That was the problem I had with that. So let's answer that. Is Ben Affleck an upgrade or a downgrade from Christian Bale?
I'm going to probably have to go with he's a bit of a downgrade.
And you gave Christian Bale a 3, so.
And I gave him a 3.
Wow.
Yes.
DHA.
Only because at this moment, Christian Bale seems like the quintessential Batman to me. I'm going to say it's a slight downgrade, but I really have high hopes.
Okay, which is fair enough. Lex, I gotta tell you, hearing you say that Michael Keaton was a quintessential Batman was like a kick in the nards, my friend, because to me, Michael Keaton was to Batman what Gene Hackman was to Lex Luthor.
You really think that?
I honestly believe that you know what, as Batman, I don't think he was bad. As Bruce Wayne, I thought he just was too Michael Keaton.
But he had the ability, though, to turn on that on and off switch, though. If you go back and watch the 1989 movies, which I know you guys already recently, I think one of you guys mentioned earlier that you had,
right.
He had that thing where he was able to turn on that on and off switch. Okay, let's say he wasn't a great Bruce Wayne. Okay, let's say you're right. He was Michael Keaton when he was trying to pick up Vicky Vale. Right. I get it. He was laughing, joking, and whatever, But when he was Batman, he was just a completely different other person. I mean, he wasn't Michael Keaton. He wasn't Michael Keaton playing Bruce Wayne. He was Batman. And as a matter of fact, he's the one that started the trend with all the voices and how everybody looks at Batman now. Conroy got his inspiration to do the voice of Batman for the 1990s Batman animated series show was from Michael Keaton.
Right.
Okay, and all the likenesses and some of the stuff that we've seen was started by Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton contributed a great deal to the role of Batman. And I think that whoever is going to take up the mantle, which is obviously it's going to be Ben Affleck, not only does he have, he's got to fill Christian Bale's shoes, but then he's got to go and study what Michael Keaton has done, because both men have done different things with Batman. So now he's got to figure out, okay, well, where am I going to be as Batman? Where am I going to be as Bruce Wayne?
And I think Ben Affleck is totally up to that challenge. As a huge comic book fan, he loves Batman as a character, as a persona. He loves Batman. In fact, He's done quite a few interviews that said the only reason he did Daredevil was because he thought he would never get the chance to be Batman. He was like, this is as close as I'll ever get to being Batman.
Well, I'm sure that freaking Will Smith would kill for the chance to play Hamlet, but it's just not in the cards. That's the problem. He'd kill it. Here's something that I really got to go after, because DHA, you keep saying one thing, and this is what makes me want to punch you right in the face. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say,
what did I
this
walk
just makes
into?
you want to just wash your mouth out with fist. Okay, straight up. You want Ben Affleck to direct Batman movies? Have you seen Argo? Have you seen The Town? My God, if you want to kill Ambien, you want to kill
What
the
I
market
want,
for Ambien, give him
what
a
I
freaking
want,
Ben Affleck movie.
what I want for Batman movies is to be done by people who actually love the characters. That's what I think Zack Snyder brought to both Watchmen and Man of Steel. That's what Christopher Nolan did for his movies. It was somebody who actually cared about the characters, unlike Tim Burton, who had only read The Dark Knight Returns and thought that was nifty. I want a director who actually loves the comic book to take the reins, and Ben Affleck, like I said, loves Batman as a character. He loves the comic
Did you see?
If I could just interrupt
Go
for
ahead.
a second.
Go ahead.
I'll be honest with you, David. Tim Burton is a lot better than Joel Schumacher ever was, because what Joel Schumacher did was totally decimate the Batman trilogy when he took over. Okay.
Another point, Joel Schumacher is not a comic book fan either. He likes the I think what Joel Schumacher did was he loved the Adam West series.
Well, let me put it to you. Let me give it to you another way. Okay, growing up, my age, I'm about to date myself a little bit. When I was a teenager, Miami Vice came out, and that was like the greatest freaking cop show ever. It was just ultra cool and everything. When the creator of Miami Vice, who was Michael Mann, decided that he was going to do the movie Miami Vice, which ended up starring Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx, you thought that it couldn't miss because it was being directed by the guy that created the show. Yet the movie sucked. It was horrible. It was brutally boring. Okay? I think just because you like something doesn't mean you're going to excel at bringing it to the screen. Get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people love Argo. Argo won Best Picture, okay? But at the same time, didn't friggin' Out of Africa win Best Picture. Nicolas Cage has an Oscar. I don't get it. So I don't use, the Academy Awards to judge what is quality. All I know is I tried watching The Town. The Town just seemed to me like such a great idea. It was such a great premise for a story. Had Quentin Tarantino, David O. Russell, friggin' Martin Scorsese, and they've gotten hold of that movie, it would have been a far better movie. The problem I had with Argo is it was like The Town, just boring. It didn't go anywhere. It was. I sat there for 45 minutes waiting for something to happen, and the only thing that happened was I woke myself up because I was snoring. That was it. I think look, I'm willing to accept Affleck as the Batman. Fine, whatever. Okay, I'll stick my tongue in a light socket later. What I can't deal with is the thought of him directing a Batman flick. That would crush me.
But what you were talking about with The Town and Argo compared to Batman, they're completely different genres. It's not the same kind of things that he's trying to do. And obviously the way that something is directed is all compared to the project that it is. So I think you might actually be very surprised. And here's the biggest question. Would you go watch it?
Well, here's the thing, though.
Is going to star in it. He's going to direct it. Will you go put down $10 to sit and watch it?
But you know what? Here we go. Here you go. Batman or Ben Affleck's starting to become Adam Sandler. Okay, he's going to start producing his own movies and start casting himself in the lead. And even though he doesn't work in the lead, when Adam Sandler when he produced the remake of The Longest Yard, and then he started putting himself in the lead as Paul Crewe, he should have never done that. Ben Affleck, the reason why I hate this is because you're saying it's a different genre or whatever. The fact of the matter remains is that his way of directing movies is very dull. It's very boring. It's very slow to get anywhere, okay? You can't do that with comic book movies or else you're going to have just a crap movie. And that's what gets me to it. Like I said, people like Argo, for whatever reason, I'm just not one of those. It's kind of like people like that TV show The Office, and I still don't get it. But it is what it is. Lex, any final thoughts on Ben Affleck directing a Batman or any freaking comic book movie after that?
Well, if he's going to attempt to take the director's seat, he's got a lot of research and studying to do, because like I said, Batman is not an easy role to fill.
No.
David could even tell you from just our personal experiences, role playing the character online in a DC Comics based RP. He's a very difficult, very psychological character, in fact. And, he's going to have a team of people work with him who know Batman very well. Like some of the writers from DC Comics, like Jeff Johns, Jim Lee, some of these artists, writers, bring them in on this project, because I don't think Ben Affleck by himself is going to be able to handle a production of this magnitude. I mean, we're talking about an iconic superhero vigilante that everybody's loved for the last 75 years. I mean, the guy is as old as my dad, So Batman's been around for a really long time. So if he wants to do that directorial debut for a superhero movie, he needs to do all his research. He needs to study that character. He needs to study all the supporting characters and get people in on his team that know the character very well, like a lot of the writers from DC Comics who write Batman.
Yeah, and don't just go to Kevin Smith as your freaking...
No, absolutely. Yeah, I know.
I like Kevin Smith, and I respect his knowledge on it, but I want to see him go beyond Kevin Smith.
No, absolutely.
Well, let me just say, Kevin has talked about his friendship with Ben Affleck and said they really haven't even talked for the last few years. So I don't think there's any harm. I don't think there's any risk of that. Although definitely Lex has a great idea. Talking to some of the guys who actually write the comic books, write the animated shows, those would be good people to talk to. I don't know about Jeff Johns so much, because didn't Jeff Johns write the Green Lantern movie?
I don't recall.
I'm sure he wrote that.
I don't recall right now.
Well, okay, we got. Okay,
Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb would be a very good writer, good writer to talk to. Jeff Loeb did a lot of Batman stuff. If you remember, David.
He did the Long Halloween and stuff.
Hush,
okay,
and
really
some
quick,
other stuff.
really quick. If not Ben Affleck, if for whatever reason, God decides to really bless this movie and basically makes Ben Affleck, realize that he just can't do it and step out. DHA, who could you see filling the role of Batman?
Well, there's a lot of names that have been thrown out. Josh Brolin, Carl Urban. I would love to see Carl Urban do it. I think his Almost Human TV show, I don't know if that's still going. It seems pretty interesting. But, yeah, I think Carl Urban would have been a good Batman.
My man, Lex Umaga, what's your take?
Wow, that's a rough one, because I haven't watched a lot of movies lately. Yeah, I think Carl Urban's got the potential to do Batman. I loved him as Bones on Star Trek. He was very good. He was very great at imitating DeForest Kelly. He's got a lot of potential. Wow.
He did really well as Dredd too.
Yeah, he did well. Yeah, he did that character justice. I'm having a hard time picking somebody else. How about you, Joe? Who would you pick?
Well, I've always, a guy that I've always thought about, even before the Christopher Nolan trilogy came out, and now I could see him doing it now, because, like DHA said, they wanted to go for an older Batman. One guy that always came out to me was Clive Owen. I think that he would have been an interesting choice to play. I mean, he just missed out on James Bond. And to me, I always saw the similarities between James Bond and Bruce Wayne. I always thought that, the Batman, it had to be Batman, but Bruce Wayne had to be somewhat of a James Bond kind of charm. He had to have that same kind of appeal. But Carl Urban, I think, would be a terrific choice. I like the thought of him. And as a matter of fact, to me, Carl Urban would have been the Nolan choice. I think that's the kind of choice that I expected out of these guys, because, and it's like DHA brought up, I've always felt that, Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan are getting everyone they want to play the roles they want them to play, but I can't help but feel that the suits at the studio basically said, look, we got to get a name recognition guy, so we want Ben Affleck. And I think he's a suit choice. Another guy that I really think would be, but he would have to be kind of a younger, more the same age as Superman, would be Armie Hammer. I love Armie Hammer. People know him from the Social Network, and he played the Lone Ranger. Size wise, he's 6'4", 200 pounds. He's got the square jaw. He's kind of got a burly build, broad shouldered. I think he would definitely look good in the suit. My only problem is he too good looking to play Bruce Wayne and Batman?
You know, you bring up the suit, and I just want to throw this out there. I've heard nice little rumors, because I love these things. I love rumors.
Same here.
That we're not going to have to wait long to see the suit. That a promotional shot should be coming out sometime in February of Affleck in the suit.
Oh. Well, you know what? That would be interesting. What do you think about that, Lex?
I think that'd be great. Let's see how he looks, in the bat suit. I think that'd be really good. And getting back to something that you said just a few moments ago, Sam, referenced the, having a really good-looking Bruce Wayne Batman. Bruce Wayne is, if you know anything about the comic books, Bruce Wayne is a good-looking guy. Blue-haired, blue eyes, black hair. Very charismatic with the ladies, millionaire playboy. So yeah, you want to get somebody, who looks, who has that packaged look, and then could pull off the menacing, Dark Knight type.
And that's another thing about Armie Hammer that would work, because Armie Hammer is a very distinct. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen The Social Network, right?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
okay.
I have. Where he plays the two twins.
He plays the Winklevoss twins. But he played the Lone Ranger. He's a very distinguished looking guy. He's the kind of guy that you're going to see him always play a rich guy. He looks like he's a wealthy guy. He fits right into a Harvard educated guy. He's kind of like a blonde. He's got blonder hair. It's like a dirty blonde, blue eyes. But again, he's almost Abercrombie and Fitch kind of good looking, like very man pretty. Can you have a man pretty superhero? But at the same time, so is Henry Cavill. For that.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Another guy who hasn't done a comic book. I mean, he's done a comic book movie, but not in the last few years that I wouldn't mind have seen in. Thomas Jane. He did great, in my opinion, as the Punisher.
That is a.
I think that'd be an easy fill.
David, I think you've actually made a catch right there with everything else you've been saying. I think Thomas Jane would be an excellent Bruce Wayne. Lex, what do you think of that?
You guys are going to kill me on this one. I actually have not seen that Punisher movie. I'm sorry.
It's fine, but
you should definitely watch that one. I wouldn't recommend Warzone, even though the Punisher enthusiasts, the ones who actually love the comic books, the War Journal comic books, they thought that was more close to the comic books. I like the Thomas Jane one.
Oh wait, are we talking about the one that was filmed out mostly in Tampa, Florida? That Kevin Nash was a bad guy in it.
Yeah,
yes,
that one.
Yeah, I could see him pulling off. Yeah, I did see that one.
And he'd also be older and distinguished.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happen.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that happen.
Okay, guys, let's just jump right into this. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Okay, everybody is frustrated. Most comic book. Okay, first of all, Lex, you're a guy who in real life hangs out at a comic book shop. There has to be scuttlebutt about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Well, actually, I'm glad you bring that up, because I've been reading a lot of the spoilers myself on Facebook, on my Facebook and stuff like that. And one of the biggest complaints that everybody is having with this girl playing Wonder Woman is that she's too skinny.
Very.
She's too skinny. Wonder Woman is a 6 foot tall, possibly even 5'11", 6 foot tall, Amazonian, athletically built woman. She's not a tank like China was in her prime, but she's a built woman, and so what's happening is people are getting thrown off because they see this really skinny chick, casting as Wonder Woman, and everybody's going with the whole anal accuracy look for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a woman that has beautiful looking goddess, Amazonian woman, blue eyes, black hair, almost like Xena, piercing looks, pretty much is what Wonder Woman looks like.
DHA, your thoughts go along the same lines with what Lex is talking. What is your opinion? If you had to picture Wonder Woman, what do you picture Wonder Woman as?
Well, I mean, obviously you can stray a little bit from the comics. Linda Carter was by no means a buff chick.
Right.
But she clearly is what people think of when you think Wonder Woman, because she was statuesque. She's tall. She's
and
beautiful.
the only one to play the live action Wonder Woman.
And Gal Gadot fits that. Although I think last week I was saying I would have liked to see Adrienne Palicki return to the role, because that pilot failed doesn't mean she wasn't a great cast Wonder Woman.
Right. Well, we'll going on Adrienne Palicki. What I do know is Josh Whedon, or whatever his, I can't think of his name right now.
Whedon.
Josh Whedon. He actually, even though he had Adrienne Palicki as Wonder Woman, evidently that's not who he wanted. I forget who the actress was that he wanted to actually play her, but the studio told him no, they wanted Adrienne Palicki. I would have liked to have seen Adrienne Palicki, but first of all, let me give you my description of Wonder Woman, okay? And we're going to get a little bit crude here, okay? Wonder Woman is not just an iconic figure for comics, but she has to be spank material for men, okay? She was the freaking perfect looking woman. I mean, but if I had to create Wonder Woman, she would have from the neck up, she would be Katy Perry, the beautiful black hair, blue eyes. I mean, to me, that's the neck up, Katy Perry. From the neck down, Lisa Marie Verone, otherwise known as Victoria and Tara, the professional wrestler. That body with Katy Perry's head, I think, is the perfect Wonder Woman. You know, she's, again, not big like China. She's not like man huge, but she's broad-shouldered. She is muscular, into a sense, like athletic muscular. Big, beautiful breasts. You know, she's got kind of wide hips because she is an Amazon. That's the whole thing. What is an Amazon? An Amazon is a thick, full-figured woman. They're voluptuous. They're not supposed to be skinny waifs. Gal Gadot, two things about Gal Gadot, and now this is very fixable. One of them is very fixable. Gal Gadot's 5'9", which is fine. You know, I think that's perfect for an on-screen Wonder Woman. That they can make her seem you're not going to miss those 2 inches, especially once she has an inch added onto her heels. Okay, she'll probably her boots will have at least an inch heel on them. Okay. Secondly, her eyes. She's got brown eyes. Now that's very fixable. They can put contacts in and generate it computer-wise. If they choose to go with a blue-eyed Wonder Woman, which I think they kind of have to. That's one of her traits. But again, she's way super skinny. She's way too. I mean, there's skinny and then there's her. Okay, she looks like one of those freaking kids that you see freaking old washed up celebrities doing commercials for as they feed them paste. Okay? She's that kind of disgustingly skinny. Her shoulders are very dainty. There's nothing about her says Amazon. Her breasts are, I'm not lying to you, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say freaking both DHA and Lex have bigger boobs than she does. She's freaking flat. Okay? Now, worse, and let me just throw this at you. I've watched her in the Fast and Furious movies. I have never once looked at her acting and said, now, there's a woman that could not only play Wonder Woman, but she could go off and carry her own movies. So, that to me right then and there as much as I didn't even want Kate Beckinsale, I know a lot of people said Kate Beckinsale was on the short list. I would still rather see Kate Beckinsale, I think, than Gal Gadot. Although, we have seen a lot of artwork, fan-generated artwork, be it drawing, Photoshop, of her possibly playing Wonder Woman. Now, the one thing they all have in common is they all have her with breasts. And she did she did come out and say that she's planning on working out vigorously to prepare for this role. But she did make the comment that breasts are not a big deal because for 9,000 shekels, she is Israeli, you can go out and freaking buy some breasts. Now, is she hinting that she's going to get a boob job for the role? If she is, then okay, you know what? I'm starting to warm up to her.
I can't see that happening. I mean, that is deep commitment. If you, I mean, and what? Honestly, what if she spends that money, which maybe Warner Brothers will give her the money for it, whatever. She goes out and gets that done, and then she completely tanks the role, and they're like, "Nah, we're gonna recast anyway."
Well,
that
may open up more doors for her as an actress anyway. You know, that could, you know, bigger boobs may do that, but also at the same time, it's very common now to see actresses go out and get boob jobs and then freaking reduce them and out, you know, a year or two later, or you just remove them completely.
Yeah.
Pam Anderson and Jenny McCarthy are two women that have both had multiple surgeries to enlarge and remove breast implants from their breasts. So I don't really see that a problem. Lex, what is your take on that?
On what? The removal of fake boobies and
just Gal Gadot in general. I mean,
well, there was a rumor. There was a rumor they wanted to get. I forgot what her name was. She's an MMA fighter.
Gina Carano.
They wanted. They were thinking about looking at her to cast her as Wonder Woman.
Another Fast and Furious actress.
Right. They were thinking about maybe getting her because she had that toughness, that warrior type spirit.
The build.
The build. Right. They were thinking about possibly her. I even heard as far as even Megan Fox. I mean, Megan Fox has the dark hair and she's got the pretty blue eyes, but
from the neck up, she's Wonder Woman.
She's Wonder Woman, but right from the neck down, she's not, obviously.
Right.
As far as boob jobs are concerned, hey, if she wants to go for that, I mean, she's got to make sure that she proves herself to the directors and the producers of this movie that she can handle Wonder Woman, because I wouldn't want to do that, you know?
Well, here's the thing. She had to have read for the role.
Of course.
Okay? I'm one of those guys that I'm always questioning actors playing either real life characters or, literary characters of some sort, comics, whatever. That's why I kind of say, hey, listen, Zack Snyder obviously sees something in her, as does Christopher Nolan. Okay, she had to really dazzle them during the reading to grab this role. I'm slowly getting on board with her as Wonder Woman. I think she's beautiful. She has the beautiful, and she's only going to look even more beautiful on screen.
Of course, it's Hollywood.
Yeah, she's gonna pass the eye candy test for that matter. Another rumor, since we're talking about rumors, and this is kind of an interesting one, and this one kind of hurts. Let me ask you guys this before I get into this.
Hold on. I heard a rumor. Sam Luciano as the Penguin. Is that true?
Oh man, you got nerve, brother. Let me just go through this, you freaking Green Goblin looking mofo. Does Wonder Woman have to be sexy? Because like I said earlier, she has to be something that young men want to spank to. Does she have to be that?
I think there needs to be a little bit of sex appeal to the character. I mean, I don't think she needs to be, entirely drop dead gorgeous. Because remember, she is a warrior. Okay, she represents, independent women.
But she all her powers were blessed by the gods, including the beauty. She was blessed by Aphrodite to be the most beautiful creature on earth.
Right.
So doesn't that mean she kind of has to?
Right. I don't think she's going to be as beautiful as the goddess of love, but she's going to have to have some sort of beauty. Absolutely.
I think
sex appeal.
I think Gal Gadot passes that. Her face will easily be able to make guys fall in love with her. But like the rumor I'm getting to is one of the biggest criticism when the Adrian Palicki vehicle was, you're starting to see screenshots of the Wonder Woman for the television pilot. She first had the breastplate, the corset or whatever you want to call it, but she was mostly running around in the blue tights with the stars down the side. And there was a huge uproar. People were like, well, you know what? If they're gonna make her wear tights, then we're really not interested. So she actually had to tweet pictures of her in the Spanx to tell people, no, we're going to do both. It's, Wonder Woman wears both. And I am, just to show you that, yes, we are filming me in Spanx. Here it is. And she had to actually film pictures of her doing that. Now, the rumor I heard, and this is ugly, this is the ugliest out of all of them, is that the reason they may have picked Gal Gadot, being as skinny as she is, and as breastless as she is because they're going to create a new uniform for Wonder Woman that's more armor-based, covering her up more. Can that work?
It's funny that you're mentioning this because we were just discussing this earlier at the comic book shop. Yes, armor can work. There have been several different comic book adaptations of her in the armor where she's actually worn, the Amazonian armor with the colors that represent, the blue, the red, the gold. Right. Yes, I think she could probably get away with wearing some sort of armor, like the top piece, maybe, maybe instead of wearing the little blue underwear with the white stars in front, she could probably wear like a blue skirt, like a Grecian type skirt type of deal. I've seen depictions of her in stuff like that.
DHA, what is your take on it?
Well, when it comes to the armor, Wonder Woman has had it in the comic books. In fact, I think the first time I saw her was in Alex Ross's Kingdom Come. And it was very much like Lex described it, where it had like the gold pieces and more like a skirt rather than the Spanx. But I think one of the quintessential pieces of Wonder Woman is that costume. You have to pay tribute somehow. Like, I don't mind the changes they made for Kal-El. I thought those were interesting changes, but they kept the overall tone the same. So I think we got to see it. Even if it's just for a brief moment, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to battle. Time to put on the armor." That's fine.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. We've discussed this. The porn actress Kimberly Kane, she did a photo shoot dressed up as Wonder Woman. You guys have both seen it.
It wasn't just a photo shoot. She has literally done the porn.
Oh, there is really?
Yeah, there's a Justice League, Triple X.
Yeah, okay. Let's save that for after we go off the air. But anyway, you've seen her.
Shout out.
You've seen her in the costume. Both of you seen the costume. Lex, what do you think of that depiction of Wonder Woman?
I think it's very sexy, and I think it's also very accurate to the current New 52 timeline right now that we're seeing in the DC comic books. As a matter of fact, a lot of these parodies are actually following canonical comic book stuff. I think she looks gorgeous. I think she's awesome.
Not only that, but if you look at the picture, she really, look at the breasts. You don't have to have huge breasts to make that suit look good.
No. Her arms look like they're very well, managed. So she had to do a little bit of working out, for this role.
Right. DHA, let me ask you this. While looking at that picture, doesn't that kind of match? One thing I like about that outfit, doesn't it really match up to the new Superman outfit?
It does. The red matches up. The blue is a darker shade. I really like this costume, as well as when people look at Wonder Woman, not only are the men supposed to want her, the women should want to be her. Exactly. Because she's a huge symbol for these women. So if she came out even dressed like this, even though some people might think, "Oh, she looks like a whore," that's perfectly fine because she's using that to empower herself and maybe kind of confuse her opponents. I think that's very good, especially for women everywhere.
Well, like I said, it's one of those things to where I really believe that they have to maintain the sexiness of the character. If they make her like, and no, this is kind of weird because I was always one of the people that believed that Jamie Alexander should have been Wonder Woman. I thought she would have been the perfect actress to portray that. But they can't make her very armor-based. I mean, this character has to have the sex appeal. And I would like to see it follow, like you said, that you brought up the New 52. I would like to see them follow that character. We all agree, basically. Gal Gadot, maybe not the first choice, but, we may be... do you think maybe after the movie comes out, we're going to be sitting here together talking about how great she was and she is Wonder Woman? Is she gonna? Do you think there's a possibility that after the movie comes out, we're basically saying Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman? forget Linda Carter. She's basically going to show us just how lame Linda Carter was as Wonder Woman.
I mean, I think Linda Carter is still good looking enough to maybe do a cameo as Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mother. You know, that's always a possibility, you know. But I do believe that we're going to probably have a sit down conversation and discuss Wonder Woman. Yeah, I believe that.
Okay.
I can hope so. I can hope so because, you know, when people first heard that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, there was a huge outcry like, this is just going to be ridiculous. But now we're like, you know what? I liked his Joker.
Not all of us.
Not all of us. I'm a Jack Nicholson guy.
Oh my God, you're killing me.
And Cesar Romero. I mean, there's something about a mustache, you know.
Cesar Romero I like more than Jack Nicholson, but once again, I wanted to go after like the Killing Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently they were supposedly basing that Joker off the Killing Joke character. But I wanted to, and hopefully if they do a new Batman universe to go with the Justice League, I hope when they go after the Joker, they bring in Adrian Brody. That's the Joker. Look at the face, the nose. Can you not picture... Again, my ultimate Joker is in the Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe video game. Mm-hmm. That's the Joker. And the perfect guy to play that to me would be Adrian Brody.
You know,
I could see that working.
I'm looking at his pictures right now. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And you know what? No, if you're going to Google him, Google Adrian Brody Joker. And you see some fan Photoshop of him as the Joker. And it really would work. You know,
I'm actually looking at that right now. Yeah, I see that. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Heath Ledger did a bang-up job, and he did exactly what Christopher Nolan expected and how he wanted to portray the character.
But again,
I didn't like it.
But again, you got like what we discussed earlier before we went on the air. You know, Christopher Nolan went with a more realistic approach with the Joker. You know, we don't know where the Joker came from in The Dark Knight Returns. We don't know where he came from. We don't know what caused him to be the Joker. What we saw was just a psychopathic serial killer terrorist who had makeup on his face and was going around calling himself the Joker.
Right.
And with the scars on the side of his face to justify why he paints the grin on.
I still think you could have done that, though, with a traditional-looking Joker. And Heath Ledger was anything but traditional-looking. But here's the problem. He has redefined the Joker, and that's what kind of kills me about it. Because now, whenever people portray the Joker at Comic-Con or whatever, they're going after the Heath Ledger Joker.
Right.
And that's what... To me, that's, I guess, what gets me the most, because I want to see a more traditional Joker. Just like I thought, you know, Christian Bale was a more traditional Bruce Wayne. Much more traditional than Michael Keaton, much more traditional than Val Kilmer. I thought, and we've talked about this before, I still think George Clooney was a terrific Bruce Wayne. I just, maybe, you know, but if you try to put George Clooney in it now, and, you know, think about that, we're saying that Batman has to be older now. Could George Clooney play, you know, even though he played him before, could he be a good Batman in, you know, as opposed to Ben Affleck?
I don't think so.
I do. I think George Clooney could do a good job.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But anyway, guys, we got to save some for the next time. Lex, are you going to come back with us next time or what?
Sure.
Oh, God, you bring a lot of insight. Next time, I think I want to kind of go... Let's kind of branch off of Justice League and maybe talk a little X-Men if you guys are up for it.
Absolutely.
DHA, sound good?
Yeah, well, I'll talk of anything. I mean, with the new movie coming out, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, also, I also kind of want to touch on the possibility of Green Lantern, and let's maybe even bring in a little bit of Arrow talk with the new Flash spinoff coming. And
great TV show,
and
Arrow.
The possibility of, because there is talks, a possibility of including Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow in this current Justice League universe with Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder. But we'll get to that next week. And until then, man, this is, what are we called again? Dork Alert?
Dork Alert.
This is Dork Alert, man. Thanks, Lex. Thanks, DHA. And we'll see you guys next time. Cue the music.
Bazinga!